Hello, I'm Ima Yuan Bo, the chief editor for History and Humanities. Next week, we'll bring you a mixed book list. It includes books on diplomatic history of major powers, professional negotiation, and business management. It's a complete list. We've provided the list below the audio, and one of these books was edited by me. I'd like to give a special introduction and also take this chance to discuss how our show won the 30-minute Gold Award while faithfully conveying the book's original value. The book is titled Summit, with peak meaning a mountain peak and meeting meaning a conference. People who follow the news lately shouldn't be too unfamiliar with this term. A summit is a meeting where leaders of great powers gather to discuss international relations and maintain global order, like the G20 meeting held in Hangzhou, which is a classic example. Such meetings, since they're led by leaders, often influence the course of history. As it's where top leaders meet directly, summits become venues for major power leaders to showcase their personalities and charm. Imagine the entire history of humanity rests in the hands of these key figures. They clash and cooperate, making the summit incredibly dramatic. When I got this book, my first question was how summits truly affect human history. The book covers 6 leadership summits. These summits all occurred at critical junctures in the 20th century. For example, the Munich Conference, a prelude to 221, involved Germany's Hitler and Britain's Chamberlain. Also, just before the Cold War ended, there was the Geneva Summit between the US and Soviet Union with President Reagan and Soviet leader Gorbachev. This summit led to the signing of the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, marking significant historical progress. The book explores the background, agendas, and historical outcomes of these summits, evaluating the successes and failures of the leaders involved. Each summit is described in meticulous detail, drawing from firsthand accounts, audio recordings, and video footage to vividly portray leaders' personalities, tempers, and high-tension confrontations. This aspect takes up a large part of the book, and it's absolutely fascinating. With such rich details in a 700-page book, how can we present it clearly in 30 minutes while highlighting its core value? The key lies in what to include and what to omit. As the chief editor, I discussed with the writers to focus on essentials, aiming to provide a bird's eye view of the 6 summits within one episode. First, minimize historical context for well-known events like 222. Second, when a summit covers multiple topics, we select the most significant ones. For example, at the Yalta Conference, rebuilding Poland's government was discussed, a relatively minor point we'll skip. Third, briefly mention historical events triggered by each summit's outcome. Comment on whether leaders achieved their goals while keeping it concise. Thus, covering these 6 summits in 18 segments makes the content structured and manageable. But this approach sacrifices many of the book's captivating details. Let me give 2 examples from the Vienna Summit. Held in 1961 in Austria's capital, this summit featured US President Kennedy and Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev. Both leaders had strong personalities, leading to constant clashes during discussions. Khrushchev especially was passionate, yet domineering. When negotiations stalled or he countered arguments, he'd unleash emotions, turning rational debate into outbursts. In 1960, Khrushchev famously banged his shoe at the UN General Assembly to show discontent. At this 1961 summit, 2 incidents occurred. First, during debates over East or West Germany's diplomatic status, as 201 allies turned Cold War rivals. The US and USSR each backed East and West Germany in their standoff. To secure diplomatic recognition for their allies, both sides cited past achievements as bargaining chips. As a result, Khrushchev became extremely emotional, stood up, slammed the table, and mentioned that his son died in 211 as a war hero. He suddenly pulled this stunt, leaving the American representatives speechless and unsure how to handle the negotiation. In the end, they parted on bad terms. The second incident occurred near the end of a lunch when Kennedy lit a cigar and tossed the match behind Khrushchev's chair. Khrushchev pretended to be startled and said, "Hey, Kennedy, are you trying to burn me alive?" Well, Kennedy naturally responded, "I didn't mean that." Then Khrushchev seized the moment to mock Kennedy. He said, "You're absolutely right. You're not an arsonist. You think you're a capitalist." Khrushchev's unexpected remark completely overwhelmed Kennedy, leaving him speechless. In such situations, silence means your nation loses momentum. Such examples are countless in the original book and often leave a deep first impression. So our writer's first draft was packed with these details. As for why the summit was held and what happened afterward, it was explained very vaguely. In my view, these interesting details are merely a bonus outside the trinity of summit background, historical impact, and knowledge framework. They can be included, but not given too much space. Otherwise, we can't cover other aspects clearly in 30 minutes, and the bird's eye view goal won't be achieved. Why did I handle it this way? Why do I particularly emphasize introducing the overall framework rather than highlighting a few interesting stories? Is it just about telling the story to everyone and that's it? Like, this brings us back to the original purpose of our show. Doesn't every episode of our show begin with the phrase, faithfully convey, value, interpret global good books? What that means is we prioritize conveying the original author's intent and the book's most important value to the audience. We take Summit, for example. The gossip about major leaders does grab attention. But what the book truly wants to convey is the cause and effect, the historical process of how summits impact human destiny. That's its core message. Well, imagine a good book is actually a garden. Our show acts as a tour guide for this garden, leading readers through it. A good guide can take you on a deep 3-day tour, explaining everything, while a lazy one might just show a corner, but still make it interesting. But when a guide has only half an hour to show you the garden's overview, choices must be made about what to include and what to skip. Only then, when you open the book later, won't get lost and will know where the best views are. Achieving this in our 30-minute show means we've faithfully conveyed the original work's value. All right, that's it for this episode. Please leave comments below about any Chinese-style book interpretations that impressed you, or share any thoughts for our editors. We'll randomly select a commenter to receive next week's featured book. Okay, see you next week.